engaging. And truthfully, by the grace of God, today we are here celebrating or observing a ceremony where in the near few minutes we will be signing to establish a sister-city relationship between the city of Cape Coast and then the city of New Orleans. Nibadi, we are so grateful to you for this wonderful step taken, and pray that you continue to work together with us for us to achieve more as we go forward. Having said that, the MOU we have here spells out a whole lot that we are expecting to experience as far as this new relationship is concerned. We are looking at the area of tourism. We are looking at the area of education, agriculture, how best the two cities can have programs that will benefit both of us in those areas. One, cash crop, or say a commodity that I've learnt is very expensive in New Orleans, is the coconut that you see on your way here. That even as compared to the prices of fuel and all that, coconut is a very expensive thing in the New Orleans. But I'm happy to inform you that amongst all those areas that we'll be looking at is also agriculture. And under that, there is this special program by the government where we are trying to raise some cash crops for export. We have about 5 of them that each assembly should be looking at. But luckily for we in Cape Coast, we decided to stay with coconut, where every year we try to raise some seedlings, spread it out free to our farmers, just to get them into a certain kind of business. At the same time, be able to raise enough coconut trees and then get the fruits for export. In that direction, we can see how those activities can be factored into our relationship, and then going forward, how we can establish something in that area. Cape Coast, as you are aware, our strength is tourism. It will interest you to know that the very first high court in West Africa is right here in Cape Coast. We have the military cemetery and our castle, I don't need to mention it, and other tourist sites that going forward can be very beneficial to this organization. We are looking at that exchange programs between our institutions, the universities, and then other tertiary institutions, where we can pick up something from your end, as well as you also coming down to see how there can be that collaboration. So all in all, we want to welcome you to our city. Wish you a very pleasant stay. And I'm told it's your second time, but it's still the first time in the year of return as mayor.
That's true.
As mayor is your first time, so we are hoping that you take advantage of our city and all the good things that we have here, and then go back to New Orleans with a very refreshing memory. And this will not also end here. Myself and my team will also have to sit down and plan and see how we can also return this visit, and then have the opportunity to also experience what you have in New Orleans and its surroundings. Once again, we wish you a very pleasant stay in our city and the country at large. And since we are in the Christmas season too, a very Merry Christmas and prosperous coming New Year to you and your team. As you rightly met me with Akwaba. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nesaka.
And gracing us with your honorable presence. Mayor, I look forward to the partnership and the Sister City Agreement that we will sign in just a few minutes. The origins of this relationship, in my opinion, with Ghana, with Cape Coast, is very deep and rich. As we are in the midst of and coming to the end of the year of the return for 2019, it really speaks to the culture, and it speaks to the transatlantic slave trade that emanated from the coast here. And understanding that that trade brought more Africans to the city of New Orleans, as we are port cities. And our people were not slaves. They were men and women, educated, professional people, but yet were enslaved because of that trade agreement. 400 years is what we're commemorating at this time, which for me marks the best opportunity as possible to ensure that we transform ourselves and our people in our cities, the city of New Orleans, the state of Louisiana, and even the United States of America, for what that trade meant to our people. In spite of our people being enslaved, we were able to come out of it still strong, but it's an opportunity to be even stronger. And I believe under our leadership, we will do just that. My relationship with Cape Coast and Ghana started really in 2013 as Father Asari Dankwa asked me to join him, something that began prior to me being elected as the city council member. But as the council member, I visited here in 2013, and we outfitted a public school with technology. I say that to say that my commitment to you, to Cape Coast, and to Ghana is far deeper than just being elected, but in this capacity as mayor, brings forth the best opportunity to strengthen our ties that will uplift the people that we serve. And in that regard, the city of New Orleans is committed to ensuring the exchanges of culture. Yes, tourism is a very influential economic driver in Cape Coast, as it is in the city of New Orleans. Through that, it is our people who really make up that culture. And so, through the exchange of that culture, not just as it relates to musicians, but all of our cultural bearers can play a mighty role in this, touching economic development as well. You mentioned coconuts. Well, during Mardi Gras, every year in the city of New Orleans, we have the Zulu Social Aid and Pleasure Club, which puts on the most sought-after parade in Mardi Gras during Carnival. And the best throw out of all of Mardi Gras is the coconut. So I see low-hanging fruit as it relates to an exchange and that economic driver and ways that we can make sure that New Orleans doesn't get coconuts from China, but actually gets coconuts from Cape Coast and Ghana. Also, as it relates to economic development, looking at ways that we can exchange on education that touches science, technology. Also in regards to infrastructure, waste management, emergency and disaster preparedness. Also as it relates to climate change, there are ways that we can strengthen and we can partner. I look forward to exchange opportunities for our students, both in primary and higher education. Cape Coast is known as having the best academic opportunities for really in the whole continent, but more importantly in Ghana. And so I look forward to joining universities as well as primary educational facilities in New Orleans with Cape Coast and also with Ghana. So the opportunities are ripe and they're real. And I come to you not just as the mayor of the city of New Orleans, but representing the citizens of our city, which is over 400 and 500,000 people today. And so, as I mentioned, that transatlantic slave trade, which brought forth more in terms of the slave dungeon, was right here, that had more slaves coming to the U.S. through New Orleans. But what's so fascinating about that is through the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. When Louisiana was purchased by the United States, it doubled the size of the U.S. by slaves, making Central, the city of New Orleans, and the state of Louisiana, as relates to how we collectively and our people built the new world. So it's time not just to talk about and commemorate the year of the return or those 400 years, but it's time to change the narrative that the continent is full of and has always been of people of resiliency. And so that is my hope, and what I want to bring is to change that narrative in terms of who we are as a people, and also being able to ensure that the citizens of the U.S. and that of the city of New Orleans understand their real culture and understand that they don't come from slaves, they come from people who are prominent but who yet were enslaved. And there's a lot for us to learn from that. And in the U.S., we're struggling with that in the black community right now. And I believe that if we're more connected to where we come, we can better appreciate one another and love one another for truly who we are. So that's why I come. And it is in that hope to build a stronger connection and a bond. And I also bring in my presence a partnership with the Essence Full Circle Festival. And that is a commitment from the owner, Richelieu Dennis, to ensure that African Americans in the diaspora understand where they come from and that they touch the place and love on her and therefore change who we are as the people in the U.S. So we invite you to New Orleans in July of 2020 to celebrate and commemorate what we are about to sign, this Sister City agreement that will uplift not only what we say in paper, but what we do in action. I also come with a commitment from the U.S. African Development Foundation that has made a commitment to strengthen and leverage resources that they receive from a private sector that we can leverage in strengthening the Sister City Agreement. It does take resources to make this all happen and make it possible. So we're just not coming with words and with an agreement, but tied to real action and commitments that will uplift what we sign today. So with that, I thank you for welcoming me. I thank you for hosting me and my staff and our Reverend Asari Dankwa, who this is who he is, and he's extended the love from the Ghanaian community to that in the city of New Orleans as being the first African ordained by the Archdiocese of the city of New Orleans. So with that, I thank you, and you know what? I love you. And saying thank you, I will say Madasi.